Okay, recording started. So now what we have seen yesterday, we have seen various commands. Now whatever commands we are running, where are we running? We are running in this shell, right? This is the shell where we are running the commands. Now how to identify which shell you are using? Shell are of various types or various names you might have heard. Like many places you will see bash shell scripting. So this is the most popular one. Sorry, BASH. This is the most popular one, that is called the bash shell scripting. So bash is a type of shell where your commands and the utilities or the logic that you are writing, that will run. So that will be your bash shell. Okay, so that is the bash shell. But apart from bash shell, there are various other shells as well that are available. Like you have shells known as sh shell, then we have csh shell, ksh shell. Okay, then we have something called as tsh shell. Okay, so there are various shells. So bash is known as born again shell. Okay, so the actual name is BORNE, born again shell. Okay, earlier the first shell that was developed was sh shell, but over the time the developers, the community has developed more better features, more better versions of bash, so they have developed a shell that was known as bash shell. So that's why it was named as born again shell. So that's why it was called as bash shell. Okay, so BA is in born again. Okay, that shell was more enhanced. Apart from that, there are other shells like C shell, where if you want to use for C code compiling, if you have heard of C programming language, so C code compiling, so CHS shell is there. KSH shell mostly comes with your HP systems. Okay, HP servers, you will see KSH shell is there. Then TSH shell are there with various type of systems again. So there are various type of shells that are being used, but most popular in an enterprise level you might be using bash shells. Okay, so only difference between this bash shell and others are that this will have certain commands that might be working in bash shell that might not work on a KSH shell. Okay, but there would always be an alternative command that would be available in that particular shell. Okay, which you can go ahead and check that, okay, which command should I use for a specific entity, so that will be captured in that particular bash shell. Okay, so these are the different type of shells. So if you want to identify which shell you are actually working on, okay, so you have to just write a command. For now, don't get confused, just this is a simple command, echo $shell. So I am currently using bash shell. Okay, so all the Linux systems, whether you are working on Red Hat, Oracle Enterprise Linux, CentOS Linux, okay, or even Ubuntu or Debian. So if I show you, this is my Ubuntu system or Debian system. So if I show you, so all the Linux systems are on bash. So you will see bash shell. So whatever code I will write in Red Hat, that will work in my Ubuntu also. On the other server that is running on Ubuntu, that will also work the same way. Okay, got it? Okay, so this is the shells. Now if you want to see what are the different shells available in your system, just use cat I told you for viewing a file. So in system level there is a file called as etc shells. Okay, this is a system level file. Okay, normally don't modify any system level file. This is a system level directory where all the system specific configuration files are there. So you will see there are various shells available. sh shell is there, bash shell is there. So mostly you will see sh and bash shell only that are available in most of the systems. Okay, if you want, you can go ahead and install some other type of shell as well. I can install ksh shell also, but that is a separate entity that will not come by default or a seeded entity in part of Linux. You are explicitly installing that shell and using that shell for a specific need. Okay, but by default bash and sh shell would be available for a system. So that's why it is also called as bash shell scripting, that you are learning how to write scripting on a bash shell. But the scripting logic on ksh shell or any other shell will remain same. It is not going to change. Only thing is might change that, okay, there are some commands that might not be the same as in ksh which are working in your bash shell. But these basic commands like rm, mkdir, these type of commands will remain same. They are not going to change. but some specific commands are there that are not built for bash, they are built for KSH only. So those type of specific commands will not work, because many times you might get requirement that okay, there is a script running in some of the HP servers and you want to use that script in your new Linux servers. Okay, so if you directly copy and paste, there are chances that it might not directly work. Okay, so you have to go ahead and see that how this script is written and all the commands that are used in this script will work or not. So you have to analyze and test it, and then only you have to migrate those scripts from a, let's say, HP servers to a Linux server. Got it? Okay, so this is how your specific shells are available. Now one more important thing is that whenever you are working on a Linux system, right, so remember it is very much case sensitive. Okay, so if I am writing or making a directory as, let's say, HIMANSHU, or I am making HIMANSHU, both are different things. Okay, so it is very much case sensitive. Okay, if I run this command, so there are two different directories that gets created. Okay, so bash or the shell is very much case sensitive, so you have to be sure that what case you are doing. Even if you are searching or trying to navigate, okay, it will not work. So if someone says okay, go to Himanshu directory, and if I am just typing like everything in capital or uppercase, so you will see no such file or directory, because there is no such file or directory. Even this is there, but the case is different on both cases. So based on which specific case you want, you have to take into consideration that okay, what type of case you have to use. Okay, so it is very much dependent on case. Clear? Okay. Now next thing is, if you want to go ahead and see that okay, yesterday we saw a command as cat command, right? Cat command was used for viewing of your files. Now if I say okay, I want to view a file, but let's say a file is very big, right? Let's say file is having 10,000 lines, right? Then how will you view, right? When you will do cat, your screen cannot accommodate 10,000 lines, right? You have to scroll up and down, right? There is a lot of confusion when you have to scroll up or down. So in those type of scenarios, what you do, you have a command called as, two commands are there, more, and the other command is known as less. Okay, so I will write it here. More, and the other command is less. So what they do, they display content of file in page wise. So they will display the content of the file in page wise. So it will not open the whole file at the same time, but it will open the file on page by page. Okay, but we will see that less is more effective than your more command. Okay, so now let's say if I have a big file somewhere, this is a small file only. Let me see, big files. Okay, so if you see, if I try to view this, you see this is a encrypted file. I cannot see much data here. So let me find a better file which is more bigger. Okay, so let's say this is my file, okay, messages file. So in this Linux system, if you want to see the system logs are mostly at var log messages. This is the system log file, that what your operating system is doing. Okay, so if I do cat here, if you see here cat, first thing is I am from Himanshu user, so it will not allow me to read because these are system level files. So let me connect to root. Somewhere I was connected. Yes, here I was connected to root. I think the screen is very small, right? Let me So what earlier you asked, right, that why the command. So root has some privileges, but other normal users will not have those privileges. So if I go to var log from root, you will see a messages file. Now as soon as I do cat, if you see, this is a big file, right? I have to scroll up and down to read the whole file, right? It will be a very huge file, correct? If you see it here, okay, so it's difficult for anyone to read, right? So what you can do, you can use a better command called as more command. More command is there, and if you want to copy paste the content, right, so the shortcut is just select that and just do shift insert, it will paste it directly. So you don't have to do any right click and copy something like that, don't do, just select this and simply go ahead and shift insert here, so it will just paste it on your screen shell. Okay, now if I hit enter, see I am doing a more command first, so more, so if you see it here, it has just displayed me the first page of the content on the screen. So see, it is showing you only 0% of the file displayed here. Now you can press any key, so normally I use space key, so as soon as I click space key, it will navigate to the next page. So now it has showed me the next content of the next page content. Then if I again press space, again it will keep moving to next page, but it is moving one page at a time. Getting it? So it will not display everything on your screen and make it like little jumbled for you that okay how to search, but this will display page by page so that you can easily read one page, press space, go ahead and read the other page, sorry, and then you can again keep pressing and you can keep reading page by page. Clear? Okay, but the drawback with more is that it will only move forward, you cannot move backwards. Let's say I want to go, okay, I have missed something at top, I want to go to previous page, so more will not take you there. Okay, so you don't have any option to go back to the previous page in more. Only when you click any button, space button, you will simply go ahead to that particular line. So I will do quit, I will press Q to quit out of more. So more will only navigate to front of the page. So if you want more details or more futuristic tool, so you should use less command. Okay, the name is less but the features are more. Okay, less, and let's say I will use the same file messages. Okay, so as soon as I write less and messages, enter, it is also showing me page by page, but if I press space, it will keep moving. Okay, but if I want to go up, I can use my up arrow key and it will start navigating previously what you have seen. Okay, so it will navigate via up and down arrow key as well, one line at a time, or if you want page by page, just keep pressing space and it will go ahead and keep moving ahead by page. So both options you are available, and even it will allow you that okay, what you have to do, you can simply press some other command. Okay, so it will allow you to use both more feature and also to go and read line by line using your up and down arrow key. Clear? Okay, and again to come out, just press Q to come out, quit. Okay, so either you can use, for big files you can use more or less command, whichever you want, you can go ahead and use that specific command. Clear? Now, so see, I have just shown you from root user just to show these files. Okay, normally we don't use root users. Okay, so don't get confused that I am using root user. Only thing is that these files can only be read by root user, because these are big files that I wanted to show that should go out of the screen buffer. So that's why I showed you these files. I wanted big files to display. Okay, so we have seen the file reading operations like cat command, more command and less command. Clear? Now next we have something called as again file reading or file viewing commands, that will be called as head and tail. Okay, head command and tail command. Again the name are head and tail, so it's the opposite of each other, head and tail. Now what they do, as the name suggests, if you want to see the content from the top, you will use head command, and if you want to see the content from bottom, you can use the tail command. Okay, now how does it work? Let's say this is my file, right? So this file, when you are seeing this file, right, the first line would be the oldest line inside this file, and the last line would be the latest one, right? Whenever a file is written, or whenever you write in any notepad, right, you start writing from top to bottom, right? So whatever line you written at the first, that will be the first line that you would have written, and that will be the oldest line, and from bottom you keep adding your contents, right? That okay, I will add one more line, I will add one more line. Getting it right? Yeah, it's the same thing like this Word document. This was the first line, but this was the oldest one when we started the class. Now at the last would be the latest content that I have written. So if you want to see what was the oldest content at the top line, let's say I want to see the line from top. So if I do head and the file name messages, so what this will do, this will show you by default value is 10. So it will show you top 10 lines from this file. Okay, the top 10 lines. So when I do head massage, you will see top 10 lines, July 6. Okay, when we started, that time this file would have created when the server was built. So this was the file, July 6, the top file is there. So first 10 lines it will display. Same way, if you want to see last 10 lines, so again 10 lines are default values, tail messages. So it will show you last 10 lines, last latest 10 lines right now, that I just now switched to root user from Himanshu. So it has captured that. This was done right now. So this is the last line latest at 8:18. Getting it? Okay, now if you want to say, okay, I don't want 10 lines, I just want 2 lines. Okay, default value is 10. So what you can do, head hyphen 2. So what it will just display, only 2 lines from top. So only first 2 lines it is displaying. Okay, this whole is 1 line actually. It is displaying you like this, but this whole is 1 line, and this is 1 line. So that's why 2 lines it has displayed. Okay, same way with tail also. I can say tail, that is 2. Okay, so it will show you last 2 lines only of this particular file. Clear? Okay, now with tail there is again one benefit, right? That how to monitor real time. If you want to monitor a file real time, okay, at that specific point what you will do, you will simply go ahead and use an option with tail that will update the file content from bottom to the latest content whatever it is writing to that file. Okay, normally in Windows you cannot go ahead and update, right? Any file gets updated, it will show you that this file is updated, please refresh it back to see the latest content. But with tail there is a benefit. Let's say I am doing it here, so I will use this file, secure file. Okay, secure file has who connects, who don't connect. So there is an option, I can say tail hyphen 10f. What does this mean? That show me last 10 lines plus keep showing me the latest content for f. Okay, so what it will do, if I just do without f, it will only show me 10 line, come back to my shell prompt. Okay, it has completed the command, come back to my shell prompt here. Okay, but if I just go ahead and do tail hyphen 10 f, so f will never come out of your command prompt. See, it will still here, it has not came out of the command, and it will be open and it will keep displaying the latest content. So if you see last content was at 8:18. Okay, so let me do something here. I will go to my unconnected root here. So I will do su hyphen Himanshu, then from here I will go to Bob, so now see what is happened here after 818. Earlier I selected 818, right? That time this was the last line. Now if you see, because I made two connections again, so what it has captured, the file has captured some content, so this is also displayed on my screen. So tail-f will keep displaying you the contents on the screen until you don't press Ctrl C to cancel it. Okay, so see, the content was that a session was opened for user Himanshu by root, and then again from Himanshu what I did, Bob, so it has captured that okay, connection was opened by Bob. Okay, but the shell was from root, so that's why it has captured it was from root shell. If you remember that I have explained who space am space I. So this was the user who have actually opened the sessions. So that's why it is showing you root here. Clear? Okay, so this way you can monitor files. So normally when you are working on shell scripts or even on normal servers, Linux servers, so if you want to monitor the log, let's say you have ran a script and that script is writing some content in the log file or it is appending to an output file. So meanwhile the script is running, what you can do, you can open one more terminal and monitor the content of that output file, that okay, what it is writing, whether it is writing correctly or not. Okay, so you can use your tail commands. Got it? So tail is just not used for your files, it will be used for various other places also. We will see which are other places it will be used. Okay, we will see in future sessions that how this head and tail will be used further. Okay, noting this. Now I will press Ctrl C to cancel this and it will come back to my prompt. Okay, so these are the most important commands that you might use. Cat, more, less, attack also we have seen, then head and tail to view the files, to view the contents of the files using these specific commands. Clear? Now next let me go back here and I will go back to my home directory. I am at home directory. Now what I will do, I want to remove everything. Okay, so yesterday we have seen rm-rf command, right? Rm space -rf to remove the specific directory. So what you can do, if let's say I want to remove all these directories together, I want to remove everything together. So what I will just do, I will give a symbol, or it is called as wildcard. Okay, this is a wildcard character. If I give it like this and hit enter, it will totally remove all the files and directories from here. If you see it here, it's totally gone. Clear? So all the contents will be totally removed. Any directories, files, everything will be removed from this. Yeah. Yes, everything will be recursively removed. Okay, see, nothing is there left, right? Same directory, earlier we were having 5 directories, right now I have nothing, right? 0 is there. No, if I am doing yeah, that was different command. If you remember, that was rmdir. Rmdir was used to delete empty directory. Then I told you rm-rf was used to delete non-empty directories. Yesterday we have seen that. But this I am using rm-rf star. Star means delete everything inside the present directory. Wherever I am, remove everything. So it will remove all directories, test4, test3, test2, Himanshu and this Himanshu. So it will remove all those directories. And whatever is inside it, whatever content is inside it, it doesn't matter, it will remove everything. Okay, so yes. No, it totally depends on your Linux admins. Have they taken any backup, or if there any backup is there. Else, otherwise you cannot recover. It will be removed. Only depends on the backup policy of the server. If there is, then only it will be allowed. Okay. So that's why don't use wildcard. We will see how are the different wildcards available, but don't use directly wildcards with rm-rf commands. Okay, because if you are not very sure on the wildcards, we will have a session on wildcards. 3 wildcards are there, that how they work. Okay, but never use them until unless you are not very much sure. Okay, at the beginning never use wildcards. Okay, once you are more comfortable on those, then only prefer to use them. Okay, now let's say I have these commands. Okay, now let me make some directory. I will make one directory as Himanshu here. Right, I have made one directory. Now we have seen how to make a directory. Now let's say I want to create a file inside this directory. So what I have to do, I have to go inside Himanshu directory, and to make a file, the easiest way is there is a command known as touch command. Okay, that command is called as touch command. Okay, touch command. So touch command, what it will do, it will create an empty directory. Okay, it will create an empty directory, touch, and let's say I will say one directory name is Rajesh. Sorry, file name. This we are creating file. Directory we have created. This is the file touch and Rajesh. So it will create a file with a name Rajesh. Okay, and hit enter. So now if you see, this is a file type. See, there is no D appended here. On the first character is not D. That means this is a file. It creates a file of 0 size. No content would be there in the file. If I try to read it, no content would be there. But it will create an empty file here. Got it? And see the timestamp when it created, 8:34. Okay. Now if you again try to do the same thing, if you see right now, time is just a second. The server time is 8:35. If I do again cat Rajesh, no, touch, where is the touch? So if you want to go to previous commands, right? So normally the shortcut is use up and down arrow key. Okay, what command we have executed earlier. So you can directly come to that command and hit enter. Like I can use down arrow key, up arrow key to use the previous commands, use up arrow key to see the latest command, use down arrow key. Okay, so if I do touch Rajesh, hit enter, see the file gets overwritten, the timestamp is changed. So if any content is there, you might lose that content. The timestamp will change here. Okay, so timestamp will change here. So touch is just to create empty files. Okay, again it's like, it might be very easy, straightforward, but there is a very important use in real time. I will share once we start writing programs of shell script, that time I will show you that how to use touch for a logic. Okay, so there we will use this touch command to create empty files. Okay, where we don't want to write anything to that file, but we want to go ahead and use it for a specific purpose. Okay, so this is your touch command to create empty files. Got it? So you can use like the same thing, touch. Let's say I will give any names, let's say ABC XYZ and MB. Okay, so you can create multiple files, empty files also at the same time using the touch command as well. So multiple files will get created here. Got it? Now when you have these files, how to write the content to this file we will see later. Okay, don't get confused on that. I will just, for now I will write something, but don't get confused. We will see this in a separate session. So I am just writing something. Good morning and save it. Okay, what tool I have used, we will learn this VI tool separately. It is a big topic, so we will see it separately. Okay, now this file, if you see, now the size of this file has changed because I have written something here. So the size is around 13 bytes. Okay, so if I go ahead and see, there is a content inside it what is called as good morning. Got it? Now we have seen how to make directories, we have seen how to make empty files. Okay, Now if I want that, okay, I want to copy this particular file to some other location, okay, or I want to rename. There are two things, you want to rename it or you want to copy it. Both can be used or done using a command known as cp command, that is called as copy command. So what this command will do, this command will go ahead and copy the contents or the file with to a different location or with a different name. So let's say if already I have file abc, okay, I want to copy this file within the same location but with a different name, okay, because my location is not changing. I don't need to give a path where I want to copy this file. I want to copy it in the same specific location but with a different name. So let's say I want to give it name as new file 1, okay. So copy abc, so I am saying copy this file where, to new file 1, and hit enter, okay. So now if you see, we have a new file that is created, but it is the copy of your abc file only. Say good morning, okay, same content in new file 1 as well. So we have copied this file as a new name and this is the new file. The same way like you copy and paste any files or folders in your normal specific Windows also, same thing we are doing here via command line. Clear? Any doubts in this? Okay. Now what we are seeing here is the timestamp. See, whenever you do copy, timestamp is going to change. See, this file was 837, this file is at 839, so there is a change in timestamp. If you want to preserve it, let's say this is my important script file, okay, this is my script file, but someone said, okay, I want to make some changes in this file. So always the best practice is to take that backup of that particular shell script file, okay. Never change like the original file, always have a backup. In case your script or changes doesn't work, you have an option to revert it back to the original state what it was, okay. So always take the backup of a file before making any changes. So remember, that's very thumb rule in real time, because if you delete or lose anything, it will be a big issue, okay. So don't do that. So let's say this file I want to edit, but I want to take a backup it. So I have used already a copy command, but better approach to make take a backup of it is copy -i. I is for interactive. So when I will try to copy it, let's say I want to copy abc to new file, again same file, okay. So it will say, interactive means it will ask you, do you want to overwrite the file? So this file is getting overwritten, so I will say yes, y for yes or n for no. So if I press y, it will overwrite that file. Now if you see, the timestamp is again changed, 841, correct. So as soon as you copy, the timestamp of the file would be the latest one, because it is a new file that gets created here. Got it? Okay. Now moving ahead, what I was telling. So but I want, okay, I don't want to change this time. Let's say this file was created at 837. Now someone said to edit this file, but before editing, on the safer side, I want to take a backup of this file. So what I will do, I will simply go ahead and do copy, as I showed you I option, right? I is for interactive, that ask me in case that name already exists, so it will ask me. So it is better you to use -i, and then there is option of P, preserve the timestamp, okay. So I will preserve the timestamp and I will say abc, and normally when I take backup, I will take it as abc only underscore and today's date. Let's say, what is the date today? 9 July 21. So I will normally take the backup as this name, so that I will identify, okay, this file is backup was taken on 9th of July 2021, and hit enter. Okay, so now if I do ls-ltr, if you see, the timestamp of both files are same now. See, the timestamp never changed here. Okay, but this file, when you will see, right, you can easily identify, okay, this was a backup that would have taken on 9th July, and this is the original file. So if I want to edit something, I will go ahead and edit in this file. Let's say I will just everyone. Okay, so as soon as I edit, timestamp of the original ABC file is changed 8:43, but my backup file is still there. So I know that the original file was at 8:37 and it was backup was taken on 9 July 21. Okay, this is one way of doing it. You can do it any other way of naming convention, whatever you want to follow, or as per the client or the organization you can follow, but normally standard good practice that I follow is this one. And even what I do, I also use my like something as abc underscore 9 July 21 underscore Himanshu or HS, whatever I want to give, so that I can know, okay, who has taken this backup or who was the one who has taken this backup. Clear? Okay, so now this is how you copy it. Let's say now we are currently at Himanshu directory. Now can you think of a command? I want to make a directory, let's say shell scripting class directory. I want to make a directory at the Himanshu user's home directory, but without going anywhere from this particular directory path only. I want to make a directory as home Himanshu and shell scripting class. How can I do that? What should be the command? I have to make a directory at home Himanshu with a name shell scripting class, but I don't want to navigate anywhere else. I am at this directory, I want to remain at the same directory. I don't want to go anywhere. Yes, that is one approach, that is fine. So that what you have told is what? That is a absolute path. Okay, right, remember absolute path we have seen, right? Absolute path, the path is starting from, let's say, shell underscore scripting underscore class, right? So what is this? This is an absolute path, correct? This method is also fine, no issues. Hit enter, it has created, it would have created. If I just want to do, if you have seen ls and ltr, so ls-ltr, and I will give this path that show me the content from this path. It will show you two directories are there, Himanshu and shell scripting class. But if I don't want to use absolute path, I want to use relative path, then what should be my approach? Any idea? CD will not work. Yeah, CD is a separate command. Two command cannot go hand in hand directly like this. Yes, so this is one way, shell SCRI. Okay, shell script. Okay, this is one way. This is also fine. Okay, and one more way, when you have to create a home directory, right, at the home directory of the user. Okay, whenever you want to create at the home directory of the user, what you should do, always go ahead and do mkdir, like normally I prefer tilde sign and 1. So wherever you are, because right now I am Himanshu, let's say I am 10 directories inside, 10 parent child directory inside, then I have to do 10 times dot 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 dot, right, to come to the parent directory. So easiest way is, if you want to create at home directory, use tilde sign. So this will automatically create at the home directory of the user, and you will just say shell script 1. So this will also work the same way. So if I now see, so I have this directory. So multiple methods are there. See, the same task you can do in multiple ways. It totally depends how you want to do. Okay, in shell scripting also a particular problem can be solved in different ways. So it depends which one you are using and which one you are comfortably use that method. Okay, so there is no hard and fast rule that you have to use this only. Only important thing is make sure that it passes all your test case scenarios, that it shouldn't fail anywhere. Okay, clear? Okay, now we have just now copied the content from the same directory, right? From ABC to this name, ABC to this name, right? But let's say I want to copy all these files from Himanshu directory to where? Shell scripting class. Okay, so what you can simply do, copy star. Star is for everything inside this directory, whatever, wherever I am, whatever files, directory, everything is there, everything can be copied. Copy star and where? Dot dot slash, let's say shell scripting class. So what it will do? It will copy. So remember the copy command, the last thing, whatever last thing is there, let's say I will explain it differently. Leave star right now. Okay, so I want to copy, let's say, two files, new file 1 and ABC to shell scripting class directory. So what I will do, I will say new file 1 space ABC space. Okay, so first parameters, second parameter, they all are file names. The important point is if you are copying from one directory to other directory, the last parameter should be your directory name. Okay, before that you can put any number of file names, 1, 2, 3, 10, 100, 200, any number of file names you can put, that doesn't matter. The last should be your destination where you want to copy. Okay, in case you are copying to a directory. Got it? Okay, if I hit enter, so it has copied to my shell scripting class. If I go ahead and here, see the two files are copied. So see, whenever it gets copied, because I have not used any IP options to preserve timestamp, so it has created with a new timestamp 850 850. Okay, so this is important when you are copying to a directory. If you are copying from a file to file, make sure the first is the main file or the source file and the second is your destination file. But when you are copying to a directory, the last should be your destination directory. Before that, any number of files or directories can be present. Clear? Now let's say I want to copy the directory. We are seeing the files, we are copying the files. Okay, now if you want to copy a directory, so both things can be done here as well. If you want to rename a directory and if you want to copy a directory. So let's say if I want to rename a directory, okay, to rename a directory, what I can do, let's say this was my directory, I will say copy, let's say I will show you this and this underscore, I will say backup, I will copy with the backup name and let's say 9 July 21 underscore HS. Who has done that? Okay, so this will, but will it work? Let's see. Okay, so this is not working. Okay, why? When you are working with directories, when you are copying directories, okay, here what we copied file to a directory. But when you are copying a directory, that time the important point is you have to give cp space -r recursively. You have to tell that copy everything, not just directory, all the contents inside the directory should also be copied. So that's why copy -r has to be done before you can copy a directory. Click and hit enter. See, now it is copied and in, sorry, a new directory is created with all the contents. Whatever content were inside this directory, that will also be copied here. I hope that's clear. Okay, so same way, if you want to copy -r, I will copy the whole Himanshu directory to shell scripting class. Okay, so it will copy everything. If I go inside it, you can see the whole directory gets copied, and whatever contents were there in the directory, that would also be here. Okay, and see the timestamp of the content will change. Okay, so this is how you copy the files and the directories, and use the same copy command for renaming the files and the directories as well. So renaming is very useful when you want to take backups of a file or a directory. Okay, any questions in this? Yeah. Yes, yeah, you can preserve the time. RP, then you have to give RP. When you are working with directories, right, you have to just give RP. See, various options are there. As I told, right, every command has various options. It's impossible for everyone to know everything. Okay, but the important ones you should always know. Okay, and then you can go through the manual pages and what you are trying to do. So you can read those manual pages and you will get different more options if you want to use them. Okay, and in Linux, like, there are n number of commands, like there will be more than 10,000 commands that are available. Okay, so everyone, like anyone can build a command, right, and they can release it. So it's like there is no never ending, but these commands are very common and will be used in all the Linux based environments. So that we are covering. Now after copy command, I will hold it for the command for now. So we will see we have some time, right? If it extends 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Okay. So now we have something called as, we are learning shell scripting. We are seeing commands, right? Now how we write a shell script. So the first important thing, how we write a shell script. So that is very important. So the best practice to write a script is, let's say, I will come back here and I will use this directory for scripting. Okay, now there is no hard and fast rule that what should be the extension of your shell script, but as a good practice, whenever you create a script, see, till now whatever file you have given, there was no extension, nothing. You just read it, content would be, if it is a text type content, it would be easily readable. Okay, it doesn't matter whether it's .txt or any extension is there. Okay, so same way in shell script also, if I don't do anything extension, then also it will work, but as a good practice, make sure extension is .sh. Okay, so the extension name should be .sh, so that it is easily identified that, okay, this is a shell script type of a file, that you have written some type of scripts here. Okay, so that's why whenever we create a file, always create with .sh. So let's say same, I will do touch, touch, and I will say first script. Okay, try to avoid using space between the names of files. Okay, space will be problem when you will be using more. Okay, so always, like, in case you want to like segregate it, normally prefer to use underscore. Okay, but don't prefer to use spaces. Okay, and .sh. Okay, so the first file, simply you have to mention it. It doesn't need to have anything special. Just mention the file name, hit enter. So you will see one file which is first script.sh that's created here. Empty file is there. Okay, so this is your file that you create. Clear? Next thing is, whenever you are writing a script, the best practice is, there are two things that you should write. Normally I prefer to write. The first thing is, let's say hash sign is there. Hash sign used for comment lines in the script. So comment lines, why they are used? They are used for easily understanding any specific component or any module that you have written. So that are the comment lines, like you might be doing in any other programming language, just to understand that this is a header section, this was written by this particular person, or this particular module will make the updates, this module will delete the content. So those type of module statements so you want to make it more user interactive or more visible script, so better to use hash for commenting. So before any line, if you put hash, that line will be treated as comment line and that will not be executed. That will just be as a user interactive screen that will help user to go ahead and see that what particular section is doing what specific tasks. Okay, so it is good practice to add comment lines, okay, for making you to understand, because if you are writing a 1000-line code, so it is not very feasible for you to understand the same code that you have written after, let's say, 1 year. You will also get confused. You have to read the whole 1000 lines. So better if you are writing different sections and putting a comment on top of it, that okay, this section is used for a particular type of action, this section is used for a particular type of action. So that will easily help you to identify what particular you are searching for in that particular code. Okay, so comments are used for understanding and making it more readable format. Then you have something called as, here we have bang line. Okay, again bang line also starts with hash, which is called as bin bash, that which shell it will going to execute. So this bang line should always be the first line of the script. Okay, bang line should be first line of your script. Even if you don't do it, it doesn't matter, but as a best practice, give it that this script is written on a bash shell, so that anyone can easily identify that okay, this is a bash related script. First line is called as shebang line. Okay, so this is always first line, and then I would also prefer to use some headers. So headers normally when I write, so it's something like this, that who is the author of the script, let's say Himanshu. Again these are comment sections. See, I am using hash, so these are will be totally a comment section. Author, then I will see date, what date this script was written, let's say 9 July 21. What was the version, let's say I will define it as 1.0 depending upon the standards. Then purpose of the script, that my first script. Okay, and then if you want to define any uses, how to use the script, if you want that okay, how to use this script, we will see that that will be needed when you are writing more advanced scripts. So what would be the uses, and then you can close this header section. So this header section will look a little neat and give a better professional experience whenever you are writing a shell script. Clear? Any questions in this? Okay, so now if I will use the same thing, I will copy this content and write it. So this is my first script. Okay, so what I will do first, so simply what you have to do, use a tool VI. Okay, don't get confused with VI. We will see VI on Monday or Tuesday. Okay, first script, or if you are still confused, open a notepad and write on notepad. Okay, and you can copy that particular file directly. Okay, that method also I will tell you, just hold on. VI first script, insert and paste. I will paste the content here. So see, this will be my header section right now, and at the first line before that what I will write, hash bin bash, the bang line. Okay, this is just the comment sections right now. Till now we have not written any commands. Okay, this is just the comment sections that we have written right now. That is called as first script.sh. Okay, so this has just the header section, so for a easy understanding of anyone. Okay, so now when you start writing shell script, so shell script is basically your sequence of action items that you are defining. So it is a sequence of action items that you want to define. that how you want to go ahead and write the script, and that particular action would be followed whenever the script will be executed. Okay, so there is nothing like a main program or a main body here. Okay, like in other programming language like C or some other programming language, you will say okay, this is the main. So there is no such main. Only thing is set of action items that you have to perform. You have to write it in a sequence, and that sequence will give you and will be executed same way what you have written. Clear? Got it? Okay. Now because I have not taught you VI, so don't get confused with VI. So rather than, what you can do, open your notepad in your Windows and you can write the content there in a file. Okay, and then what you can do, there is a tool called as, normally I use this tool, you can use WinSCP also. There is a tool called as FileZilla. Okay, FileZilla is a free tool, again open source. When you open it or install it, so for Windows you can install it easily, and let me see if for my system it is available. Okay, so for Linux this is there, so I will install it. Okay, let it download. Okay, so normally how it works, so Windows, it's very simple, it's just an executable file. Just click, double click, next, and it will install on your system. Simple. Okay, simple as that. Okay, so no need to worry on Windows part. My system is different, so that's why I'm just downloading it. So this is a FileZilla one. Okay. So now I have to extract it. Okay, so these are the specific files, so these are placed at here. So what I will do, I will open my tool, and I will run it. So don't get confused on this. This is my Linux system, that's why it's a different way. So in Windows, when you will install, you will see something like this. After installing menu, you will get a shortcut icon on your desktop or on your start program menu, and once you click it, you will see this FileZilla. Okay, got it till here? Okay, so don't get confused that how I install on Linux, so that is a different thing, so don't get confused on that. For Windows, you have to just download this file, the Windows one that I showed, Windows only. Just you have to download this one, and that's enough for you. So where is that? So after you open, you will see something like this. This will be the screen. Okay, so now what you have to simply do, you have to connect to your server. So your server, that means that is running on a virtual box. So this is my server that is running, right? So I have to simply connect. So either put your host name or IP, whatever you want, 192.168.56. 168.56.71. Okay, and then I will say with which user I want to connect the server with Himanshu user. I will use the password. Okay, and give the port as 23. Sorry, this is SF2. Let's see. Okay, so if you want to save password, you can save. If you don't want, you can leave it. Okay, okay, and you have to give the port as 22. Remember, okay, SFTP will connect. So now what, see, it has connected to my server. See all the directories you can see here, whatever directories we have just now created, right? So first script.sh, so this directory is there. So now what you can do, this is your remote side, this is your server side, and this is your normal Windows side. So for me, I don't have Windows, so my main desktop is also Linux, so that's why you are seeing the same thing. But for you it will be showing something as C users or whatever is your username, like Rajesh or Frederick, it will show you like that. So from here, wherever you want to go, let's say from Himanshu, I want to copy some files. let's say from documents, let's say yeah, any file, whatever file is there. Let's say I have index.html file here. I want to copy it to this folder. So what you have to do, on the local site is your Windows, on the local site go to that directory where that file is there. So what you have to do, simply write, open Notepad, write the code, what code we have seen today, this one, just write it there, put it there in this file, and that file just you have to drag and drop to the location where you want on the server. Okay, so what I have to do, just either I can say upload, it will also do, or simply drag and drop here. I will left click the mouse, drag and drop it here. So see, it has copied me the file. See, all file transfer successful. If I go to my server, where is the terminal? See, if I go to my server, I can see my index.html file present here. Got it? So simply use this tool. Okay, don't worry. So simply write your code on Notepad right now and simply drag and drop to the server location where you want to keep it. Okay, so that way you can easily do it without any issues. Okay, and of course, you know, if you want to rename it, you have to just copy it and rename it to whatever name you want to rename it. So what we have written in this script right now is a simple header sections. We have not written any command to execute. Okay, so first important thing is the script is not executable still. Okay, I will remove this file for now. I don't want index.html, so I will remove it. So I have just first script.sh. So now if I want to make it executable, because if I will write some commands inside this script, it should execute those commands, correct? So for that specific reason, what you can do, you can simply do a command called as change mod. Just do 755. What is the meaning of the command we will see later. Change mod, when we will see the permissions, 755, and just do first script.sh. Okay, so as soon as you do it, so what it is giving, it will give you an execute permission. So right now if you see, it's written rw r. Okay, now when I will do this, you will see a little different there. Now if you see, it has changed rwx, rwrx. So what I have given, I have given execute permission for this script. That's why the code, color code has also changed here. It is showing you now in a green color. Got it? Okay. Now the script is like, the file is ready. The file has the permission, the file has the header, the file has the backline, whatever is needed, and the file is at the correct location. Now I want to write some commands. So till now, whatever commands you have seen, let's use those. Let's say I can write a command, who command, date command, simple command. I am just writing simple commands, nothing is special here. Okay, or let's say I will make a simple make directory also command, make directory, and I will say where you want to make directory, in the present working directory, so I don't need to give any path. I will say test1, simple, and save it. So now this script, what it will do, this script has 3 action items that I have defined. That first show me the output of a who command, then show me the date, and then show me mkdir, then create a directory mkdir using mkdir that is named as test1 in the present directory from where the script is being executed. Got it? Now how to execute the script? Now simply what you have to do, // and the script name. // means the present working directory. I told, right, dot is the present working directory. So dot is the present working directory, and the path I am defining as the first script.sh. So now it will go ahead and hit enter. So see what it will show you. It has shown me the who command, it has shown you the date command, and the next last action item was mkdir test1. So what it would have shown you here, it has created a test1 directory here. Got it? Okay, so this way you can start writing your first script. Okay, it is a very basic script, but you should be comfortable till now, till here, this point. Okay, that how you have set up this script, what permissions you have given, how do you have added the header sections, how you have given the bang line, and how you have to copy from your local system to the servers. Clear? Okay, so try to practice this. I will give you assignment. Any doubts you can let me know. Weekend we don't have any classes, so we will resume on Monday. Today is Friday, right? Yes. Okay, because weekend I have other sessions, other trainings. Okay, so Monday to Friday classes will run, from Monday to Friday. Okay, so I will give you assignments, so you can start doing. So whatever assignment I will do, try to start writing scripts. Even they are basic scripts, but start writing with scripts, so you get used to the script writing. Okay, that what permission you have to give. So .sh is just an identification that I have given. Even if I don't give .sh, it doesn't matter. It's not like Windows that you have to have an extension to open it in Notepad to execute it. Here it doesn't matter in Linux. Okay, this is just for identification, that as soon as you come to this script folder, right, you will see, okay, this is .sh script, that means it is a script. If you see the test1 folder, that is a folder, or if you am writing .txt, that is a normal text file which has some content written in it. Okay, so like that you can go ahead and use that. Okay, so try to write it. I will give you assignment, send you the assignment soon, and then try to practice that. Okay, and any doubts you can ping me. Tomorrow I will be available, so any doubts you can ping me, so I will explain. Okay, by tomorrow evening I will be available sometime. Okay, for any doubts. Sunday I will not be available, so Sunday I have some office urgent go live project. Okay then, thank you, enjoy your weekend. Okay, thank you, bye.